All right, welcome back into the Ryan Ripken Show, episode 53. And we got a little bit more stability this time. And I see some comments for the ones that saw last show. We had the one chip challenge, which both of our members survived. But we got a lot to talk about tonight. And we got somewhat of a full house. But let's actually check in on Zach first, because he is one of our two survivors in the one chip challenge. Zach, how are we doing, man?
We're feeling a lot better today than going into the show than knowing on Monday that I had to do the one chip challenge. It was exactly what I expected it to be, but it still sucked so much. I will say, probably taking it at the beginning of the show, not our brightest idea. We kind of took out two guys for a while.
Yeah, there was so much chaos going on last show, and I think that was the part. The chaos is great, but the structure, whatever the hell happened after the fact, it was just, lack of a better word, it was just a little bit of a shit show. But we got through it. Here we are. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and I'll introduce the rest of the group here after this. For those that are tuning in, thank you for tuning in. We are going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to stay to our Baltimore roots as well. We're going to talk about what is spicy. And then also now I will welcome back in. We got Kevin back in his seat, but we also got Brad sitting in.
Hey, what's going on?
Brad, do you like I was just thinking about this. I mean, obviously you like being in person more. Just sometimes it's a different vibe seeing you just sitting on the couch.
I know. Yeah. I don't know. I think I like both.
Yeah.
Sometimes great answer.
Sometimes it's nice to not be around the circus of cats.
Oh, you would have hated it.
I already did.
It was crazy.
I did.
Yeah. So
I was already kind of. I was pissed.
Yeah. That's putting it lightly. Well documented, to say the least. But we got a little bit of a different feel in here. It's kind of almost like, I think you guys mentioned, it's like a little Miami Vice feeling of what's going on.
There is.
I don't know what it is. What is behind you, Ryan? Well, that's actually kind of why it's dark, by the way. We have some things in the works here right now. We don't want to give it away by turning on all the lights. So deal with it. Miami Vice, you can kind of fit the look, Joe, whatever you want to do.
Oh my god!
Oh, there it is. Look at that.
Oh my god!
This show is just something new every time. Just something new every time.
Yep.
Wait, vibes got to stay high, right? And that's all we want.
They do.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about here. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We do this every Monday and Thursday. And we do have another special show upcoming. We'll mention later on to give you more details on that. But we're going to do our Baltimore roots like we've talked about, but there are a lot of spicy topics. Oh, and by the way, the Super Bowl is happening. I know a lot of Baltimore fans aren't really excited about it. I get it. I mean, it's still a deflating feeling in the 410, but you got to move on, and it's still the biggest sporting event of the season. So
before I get into anything, I just wanted to shout out Stackhouse. Yes, this is a big truck hoodie for sure. I would love to have them as a sponsor. That would be dope. You ever been to Big Truck?
No.
Mm-mm.
What?
No.
What? It's a brewing company out in the middle of bumfuck up in Parkton. If you know where Parkton is, you go all the way up 83.
Right.
It's the last exit. But the co-founder of Under Armour, Kip, owns that spot.
Ooh.
So it is in the middle of nowhere and, state of the art everything in the middle of nowhere brewery. It is amazing. It's incredible. I think they're starting another location over there in Eastern Shore somewhere. But yeah, they would be cool to have a relationship.
So you're saying we need to take a field trip?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Field trip, and
We'll
Kevin.
make that happen.
I'm with it.
Well,
Big Truck Brewing, they have really good beer. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was about to make a joke and say that not all of us are of age, but Kevin, you are. Zach.
Yeah.
It's-
Don't look
Yeah.
it, but I am.
Speaking of Under Armour, somebody already made a comment about the pants. These are Under Armour sweatpants and the most comfortable sweatpants I own.
Well, they are comfy.
I do like
That's
the
just great.
sweatpants.
They are good sweatpants.
Yeah.
They're dope.
You know what's also great? I want to say with Adam's Jeep, hey Chuck, don't worry, that sign's there and it's not going anywhere.
Damn it. One day.
One day you'll get better at it. But obviously, we love our friends at Adam's Jeep. We have
Hell yeah, we
and
do.
We got so many things coming up with them. By the way, I even mentioned, Chuck, that's the cleanest my car has ever been in my life. I took it up there to get serviced. I swear, cleanest it's ever been, and I hope to keep it clean as long as I can. But Ollie, my pup, says otherwise. But all right, guys, let's dive into this for Megan and Chuck. We love you too.
Move your mic a little bit closer.
Oh, potato. Is that better?
Yeah.
It might be in the shot. It's okay.
That's fine. We'll just deal with it later.
Unique New York. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's rock and roll. How about this? Before we get into the Super Bowl, let's talk a little bit about a couple things. Let's start with some Baltimore Orioles news, shall we? And there's actually two players in the top 100 that were put on this list that have at least been revealed. We're talking about Anthony Santander at 86 and Kyle Bradish. Breaking Brad is in at 73. I thought Kyle could have been higher, guys, but how about this? Two Baltimore Orioles so far, and I guarantee you they are not going to be the last that are going to be unveiled, but really cool moment for both those guys.
No, I think it's awesome. Especially, I do agree. Like you said, I think it's a little interesting that I'm not sure there are 72 players that are better than Kyle Bradish right now, but it is still awesome. It's his debut on the list, I believe, as well for Santander.
86. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
so-
was 86. I thought that was also kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But he had 33 home runs in 22. How many dingers did he have last year?
33.
Yeah.
33.
Yeah.
Something like that. So like
Yeah, switch hitting
86.
power.
Yeah. 86 was, I thought, was pretty high as well.
Yeah, it's I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people, there's still, we're going to get into that in a little bit, but there are still those rumors that the Orioles just overperformed and that these players are going to come back down to earth. And
We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. I will say, we talked about this a little bit beforehand. Very weird how the MLB does the list. It's like projected going into this year instead of how they did last year, because Edwin Diaz was 80 and he didn't pitch at all last year. So it's kind of different than the NFL, who it's based off who was the best player last year. I guess they're doing projecting. So
Yeah.
interesting.
I think it's cool that both those guys got recognized. I mean, I remember Tony Taters, man, the Rule 5 coming from Boston and how he's
Or
kind
Cleveland,
of
right?
was it Cleveland or Boston?
Cleveland.
It was Cleveland.
Yeah.
Well, either the
Yeah.
Rule 5 thing and having him be a guy that's really been through like the whole thing with them over the
Yep.
past how many years? Well, was it 2016? He
Yeah.
was Rule 5.
It was 2017. How do I remember that? Because Tony Taters and I came back, or actually I came to the Orioles when he was coming over, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Because he had the ear flap already. And I
Oh,
thought
so you were teammates with him?
well, we came over at the same. So I signed with the Orioles, and he got Rule 5. But we both went to Florida. He was going to go to the big leagues at some point. I was just going to sit down there and sweat my ass off left and right, just trying to make a team. That's where we were at. But I was looking at him going, man, like I've never really heard of this guy, but he looked refined. He looked put together. But when I looked it up, he hadn't had a lot of experience. And that's what the Rule 5 is you take a chance on if a team's not going to protect the player, then they get Rule 5, and that team that Rule 5s them has to put them in the big leagues or gives them X amount of days in the big leagues. If not, they get sent back to the team where they came from.
Yeah.
So actually another guy like that, Tyler Wells, turned out well for the Orioles. He was a similar situation. And by the way, Brad, I gave you the wrong stat. 33 for Tony Taters was the year before.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
and 28 was this year. But I mean, I know scrub, right? But
Yeah.
Tony Taters is a guy that's definitely deserving. I think a lot of people are saying, trade Tony. No, don't trade the dude that in big moments seems to step up and finds a way to give you both good performance offensively and defensively.
Yeah, I think what was that stat that got put up? I saw somewhere it's over the last 2 seasons, Anthony Santander leads the MLB in, I guess, go ahead or game tying home runs. Oh, I think it's 7th inning or later.
Yeah, clutch player.
Yeah, clutch player. Just truly like just the breed of how it really is. He doesn't always put up the stats. Obviously we just talked about 33 home runs, 28 home runs as a switch hitting power hitter. That's awesome. But it's the big moments he comes up in. Not every home run is equal. When he's hitting these game tying home runs or go ahead home runs, with the big moment, you want Tony Taters at the
he belts those things too.
Yeah.
He belts them.
No doubt about him.
And you know what? Also, no one has a trot like Tony too. He admires it. He wants to chill, and he takes his damn good time around the bases. But you know what? You earned it. You smacked it. He is poised to have another good season, and that's just to give the context for Tony.
Yeah.
Well, and
also
that's
incredible interviewer.
Yeah, that's the next question, right? Because Tony is in his last year of his contract. Is this going to be the end of Tony Taters, or do the Orioles pony up? And it's going to be interesting because I don't know if they should. As much as I love Anthony Santander and as much of a stud as he is, the depth of the Orioles right now and the amount of money they could save on another stud that they could just bring up from the minors, it doesn't necessarily make sense financially. But I guess maybe it'll depend on what Santander does this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's the arbitration or the agreement this year. He's 1 year, $11.7 million, and he's an unrestricted free agent, right? So you're looking at all these outfield prospects. You think somebody else is going to step up, right? That's the thought process here. But for the time being, he's a great player. And now we're hearing also another great player for the team, Austin Hayes, has said, hey, or his agent saying, hey, I want to stay here in Baltimore for a while. That's going to be more conversations. You're not going to be able to keep everybody, but the reality is you want to try to keep your good players if you can, but the Orioles, it's a good problem. They got a lot of damn good players. And Kyle Bradish, we haven't even talked about Brad, about how great of a year he had last year, specifically his second half.
Yeah.
It was tremendous. And quite frankly, when you're looking at this Orioles pitching staff, you can make a case that 3 of those guys can be number ones.
Or Cy Young winners.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
and we thought that Kyle Bradish, just talking to him here on the show, we even thought that he kind of got the snub as well. And Dean Kramer agreed. He thought that I think before the Cy Young Award came out, I think Dean Kramer thought that Kyle was going to get it. Unfortunately, he didn't, of course, but definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, especially that second half he put together, that was a second half where each and every game, it was, okay, can he keep this going? And he proved every single time he stepped on the mound, he put the Orioles in a position to win, and he was dominating more times than he wasn't.
Yeah, if you're going to look at the end of the season last year, if you're looking at pitchers,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Bradish, since whatever that, I think it was like June 25th, I kept remembering it was whatever that after that is that Milwaukee start where the weirdest shit happened in the first inning. Then after that, he's like, yep, you know what? Enough of this crap. And he went, mowed guys down. It just felt like it was just good start after good start after good start. And when you compile a ton of those, you look back and go, damn, you weren't just good for 3 weeks, you were good for 3 months, which he was down the stretch. And ultimately, the only thing that's going to stop him is his health. And hopefully, again, all these guys, if they stay healthy, this Orioles pitching staff, which we will talk about more here in the later end, will be very dominant. And I want to touch on one thing here. Chuck, you brought it up. I'm glad Hayes won his arbitration. Arbitration is the most wild thing in professional sports when you think about it, because essentially what they're doing, if you guys don't know, is the team is saying, this is what we value at. You are saying this is your value. You can't come to an agreement. You have someone then make a decision on what should be right. But essentially, your team is arguing why you shouldn't get the money that you think you should get in court, or however you want to look at it. It's just holy shirts and pants. And honestly, that's where the burn started to get, or the bridge started to get burned with Corbin Burns, by the way. He didn't like the fact that they were sitting in the court of saying, well, Corbin, if you had pitched better, then we would pay you more. And it's like, well, this guy is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Also, just to bring it back to Kyle Brash real quick, his last 26 starts, he was 11-7 with a 2.46 ERA and 159 strikeouts. So pretty good. Pretty good, I would say.
Well, it's definitely good in this economy. That's for damn sure. Speaking of Baltimore ties, let's go to the other side, and it's connection to the Ravens, but not talking about the actual Ravens here, guys. But a name that Ravens fans have seen on TV, but haven't seen him back in coaching, Rex Ryan. He's always on ESPN. He's always on Get Up, being Rex, right? Apparently, he interviewed for the Cowboys defensive coordinator position.
Yeah. I need him to get it so badly. I need to see Rex Ryan. He wouldn't be back. Maybe Rex would be back on the sideline. I think he'd probably sit in the box, but
no,
I just want to see Rex Ryan. Like, I want the interviews again. Like, I just want to see Rex Ryan taking questions about his defense and stuff, because he's just talk about a walking quote machine. Just anytime he talks, he's going to give you something to run with. So it just would be great for football, because he has a brilliant football mind as well. But I think it would just be an incredible personality to be back in the league.
Yeah, I think that Rex got dealt a shitty hand when he got into head coaching. You went again, you were going up against Tom Brady twice a year with the Bills and with the Jets.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that your offense kind of fell apart. We thought, Mark Sanchez in the beginning was actually going to be that guy. And then the butt fumble happened. And then it was just disaster after that. But no, I think that seeing Rex Ryan out there on the sidelines would be awesome. And honestly, I think the Dallas Cowboys defense could be better run with a Rex Ryan led defense over that Dan Quinn defense. I just think that Dan Quinn being a head coach, and we've talked about this already, but Dan Quinn being a head coach in the Commanders is just a recipe for disaster. You would have thought that getting Dan Snyder out of there would have done better. But the coaching there is just going to be so bad. But getting Rex Ryan on the defensive side of the ball over there on the Cowboys would be pretty damn good, I think.
I also think that, people look at his head coaching tenures and that's what defines him a little bit more, which, I mean, look, his Ravens.
Everybody's going to do that.
Yeah. And that's what it is. I mean, you're the head man, you have your own operation. And I mean, he and Mark Sanchez made those back-to-back AFC championships, but then it was just such a dumpster fire after that. But it seems like the Cowboys want to go that veteran DC direction. And just because, I mean, you lose Dan Quinn. I know they've interviewed Rivera and Ryan and all that. So I think they're going to go with a veteran coach who's on that. And I think Ryan getting back in the NFL, I think it's good for the sport if they can get it to happen.
I will say real quick about the Jets. Mark Sanchez not becoming like a future of the NFL is the biggest missed opportunity of all time, because the nickname, the Sanchez, incredible. That man deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, and it is so disgusting.
Solely on the nickname.
The Sanchez. If you had a guy running the league like a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes type that was just called the Sanchez, the shirts, I mean, incredible.
They got a good run out of that during those back-to-back AFC championship years.
Yeah. I mean, at the time I hated it because it was him and Flacco was like,
who's the better young coach quarterback duo? Yeah.
Well, so as looking back at that, there was a lot of great comments and moments of that Jets tenure. There's Rex Ryan with "let's go get a goddamn snack" during Hard Knocks. There's the butt fumble situation. There's Bart Scott then after the Patriots, where he just yells at Sal Paolantonio, "Can't wait!" Like, see you in Foxborough, see you in Pittsburgh, can't wait. Like, so many iconic moments from that. I'm interested because Rex Ryan is aggressive. He's a player's coach, but his personality kind of could embody what the Cowboys need. They need to not to say strut their stuff. Is it looked like Dan Quinn, they had things going for the Cowboys early on, But then when the games got tougher down the stretch, things didn't necessarily go the way that they were. And the Cowboys defense is loaded in certain places. They got a lot of talent.
They underperformed.
So, and I think that's where it goes back to. And Rex Ryan's a guy that he's going to talk the talk, and he's hoping that his guys are going to walk the walk, which normally they do.
Do you think if Dan Quinn hadn't taken that head coach job, that he would have been fired?
No.
I think Dan Quinn can do a good job in Washington, by the way. I just think why do I think? Because he does do a good job of leading others around him. And the Falcons' job, he did a solid job. Unfortunately for the Super Bowl, it's going to go down as the biggest collapse ever. But the Falcons had a run over a few years where they were who they were supposed to be. They were a team that was contending. But for Dan Quinn to be this guy when you're starting over, I'm just curious with the staff that they're bringing in with a young quarterback. That's to me where it's going to make or break. It's not going to make or break for me if Dan Quinn on the defense, I know that's where it is. If they don't hit with the quarterback from Washington again, it's going to be the same over and over conversation. That's just personally how it feels.
To me, like when you look at the Cowboys defense and the personnel they have over there, and when they went up against offenses that were actually worth a damn, the defense didn't do anything, and they didn't adjust in second half. And we saw that with the Bills. We saw that with the Packers. And I'm curious to see if we see the same thing again with the Commanders. And so that's why I asked you why, because it's like there hasn't been much that Dan Quinn has shown me since he was with the Falcons. And then we saw how that ended, where there wasn't any adjustments made against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I strongly believe that if there was any other coaching staff on that Falcons team, that the Patriots would not have won that Super Bowl. And that's nothing against Tom Brady or anybody else on that team, because Edelman made that ridiculous catch, but like there was just no adjustments made. And that's Dan Quinn's MO. He doesn't know what to do when the team throws him something else.
Well, who was the offensive coordinator in that game?
Mike Shanahan.
Nope.
Kyle Shanahan. Sorry. Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan, where
again, can't make adjustments.
Running the football down the stretch. Well, hey, some people could think they can, especially for the comeback that the 49ers had.
As long as what? As long as what? As long as he's not losing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is, you're right. If the Niners are losing in the fourth, they're screwed.
Yes. Yep. Game over.
That I forgot. If you remember this, you remember the stat on
he
that?
was 0 for 38 or 30 something. Over 30 something when he was down by 7 or more points.
Holy shirts and pants, take it to the bank. How about we do another offensive or another coordinator here? It's an offensive coordinator. I know people were opinionated with Dan Quinn or Rex Ryan. I know this is going to spark some conversation. Greg Roman, he's back. He's back in the NFL, and he's with the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I know people in Baltimore are sitting there going, they're either very happy about that, laughing about that, or people are saying good luck out there. Is it being too hard on Greg Roman, Zach? Is it being too hard that Jim Harbaugh now is reuniting with the guy where they had a lot of success when they were together in San Francisco?
No, I think, well, I'll say first, if you want to have a job in the NFL, get in with the Harbaughs, because they will take care of their people. The Harbaughs, if there is one thing they're going to do, it's if you get along with them and you're a part of them, they will take you with them no matter where they go. So,
but if you don't,
they will get rid of you. It is
that Harbaugh doghouse is nothing to joke about.
If you get in the doghouse with the Harbaughs, you will not be on their staff anymore. So I can't blame them. I mean, like you said, they went to a Super Bowl together. They had, I believe it was 2 back-to-back, 3 straight NFC championships together. Was it 3 straight or at least 2 straight?
Yeah.
But yeah, they had success. I got asked Sean Merriman his opinion on it. Let me pull up that tweet real quick. And he share screen. I'm just going to talk out loud. And okay, here we go. So he said, my honest opinion, his expertise wasn't in Lamar's favor. It's one of those know your personnel things. Herbert and LJ are 2 different players. Nothing is guaranteed, but I believe he will be much more effective with Herbert.
It is interesting, right? Because we saw Greg Roman's MO is that he is an offensive guru with mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We saw that with Colin Kaepernick. We saw it with Tyrod Taylor. We saw it with Lamar Jackson, but it only got so far. There was always a ceiling with all of them. Every single one of them, there was a ceiling. Once defenses figured it out, it was over. But Justin Herbert is not that mobile quarterback. And not that he can't move around, but he's just not like Lamar or Tyrod Taylor or Colin Kaepernick. So I'm really curious to see how Greg Roman does impact the Chargers offense in a way that maybe it's something that we haven't seen from Greg Roman before.
Yeah, and I think that there's been a trend with Roman where he'll have one really good year as an offensive coordinator with a team, and then it all just falls off a cliff. The run game stays consistent, but I think it's with the passing game with Kaepernick, Tyrod Taylor, Lamar. Regardless of what the system is, there's always that one good year. In San Francisco, it was there. In Buffalo, it was there. In Baltimore, it was there. So maybe this year or next year, he has a really great year with Herbert. The pass offense looks awesome. The run offense looks awesome. But then it's just the same trend of it kind of falling off. So I think people wanted, the quarterback guru offensive coordinator to come in alongside Jim Harbaugh and work with Herbert there. But I still think they'll be okay. It is a little bit of a risk considering what the track record with Roman is, but maybe it goes better for Herbert than these other guys that Roman's had under his wing here.
But see, that's the thing is the perception is it's of how people are viewing Roman. Roman still is, if you look at his resume, it's very successful. But that's what I'm saying. People look at it in Baltimore going, because of how things ended with Lamar Jackson, because the evolution didn't happen. But when you look at every place he's gone, the problem with it has been it's reached its ceiling or peak.
Yes.
But he's had success everywhere he's gone, especially early on. So that's where it's going to be really interesting. Because then Justin Herbert can run, but his skill set is completely different.
Yeah.
He's got a cannon for an arm. And I think the fit is going to be something that is going to be talked about a lot, but it does help, obviously, that Jim Harbaugh knows Roman well, and he probably is not going to be afraid to say what he wants to see through the offense.
It is interesting just because what most people would classify Justin Herbert as a pocket passer. And I don't know if I don't know enough of Greg Roman to be able to be like, yeah, he's the guy for a pocket passer type quarterback.
I think Greg Roman's biggest thing that he has to do is just establish some sort of run game because it's been so non-existent in LA the past few years. And even with an Austin Eckler, it's
all been dump passes.
Yeah. They just, their only run game was throwing screen passes to Austin Eckler. And, if you can't run the ball, as much as AFC Championship, Ravens run the ball 6 times with the running backs, it's hard to win football games when you can't run the football. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing. We saw in the tweet I just had up there. Sean Merriman thinks that, with Greg Roman, the whole point of it is he comes in, helps the run game, and then off of that is where you get the big plays from Herbert that can go and use his talent.
I guess the hope is also that, he had the year off from coach. I know, what was he? There was rumors about him going to Stanford. That never happened, but he took the year off and was able to kind of revamp some of his pass game, look around. Almost didn't Mike McCarthy do it? So he took the year and studied all this stuff about the game, and now he's in Dallas. So maybe Roman took the year off, figured everything out. The run game is always going to be there, but then now you add this extra element of the passing game where you had the year off to look and see what can work for you and what trends worked in a favor that you can take with your offense.
Yeah, I think something that we're going to have to I'm just trying to have a good time.
Yeah, I know, but like the reflection in your glasses is of yourself because of how.
Oh, that's awesome.
Groovy, baby.
Yeah. Well, I is that for Austin Powers reference or just groovy in general?
Just groovy. Well, both.
John Lennon maybe said groovy a lot.
Oh.
I wasn't thinking John Lennon.
It's kind of what you look like.
But isn't that kind of messed up where I think more about Austin Powers, a movie that's about a fake spy, Anyway, tomato here.
By the way, how are you liking the new setup? We can actually see you now.
I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of like not looking at you guys. If I was being
that's why he has the sunglasses on inside.
Yeah.
So why are you wearing sunglasses at night?
Yeah, for my vision. Actually, I do have some great vision. And
oh my,
what a weird flex.
You were so.
I have 20/20 vision.
Corny.
Actually.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Guys.
Yeah, I'm blind in my left eye.
I can't look at me. I got my glasses.
I'm so blind. The doctor said I don't have to wear glasses.
Okay, congrats.
That is the truth. Not correctable.
Well, hey, welcome.
Not correct.
That's what they call it. Well, my left eye is not correctable.
So I get distracted because I'm trying to figure out different variations because we are streaming this on Instagram, Twitter,
yes,
YouTube. We also do this in podcast platform, which is on Apple and Spotify. We're opening up to different areas. And I saw my buddy actually is a big Jeep fan as well. Partner. He says shout out to the partners at Jeep. Guard, I appreciate you.
All right.
But so there's different variations for you guys to listen to us. And we also have the Discord. We never talk about the Discord.
I know we need to get better at that.
And so we do have a Discord. If you want to come and chat and talk ball and you have a question when we're not on air or on social media, go there. We'll respond. We'll have a good time.
I'll put the Discord chat up.
Yep. Engraven. Yep. Sorry. Oh,
Oh,
no.
Engraven's my man. He's all of our guys in here. We love Engraven.
He is. Also, now that we had a little bit of a break here, we're asking the important questions. Tonight's first poll is not sports related. We're going to get into sports related ones in a second, sort of, because it's going to be about a halftime show. So stay tuned for that. But is it weird using your significant other's toothbrush?
Yes.
So that's why the question.
That's why whenever you see weird comments, you know it's about a poll. But like if you're tongue kissing your girl, why is it weird to use a toothbrush?
It just is.
It's literally 50-50. I'm surprised by that. I'm just saying. Like, why is it weird if you're
Thank you.
Because I think
it's weird.
I get the germs are there with kissing too, but like
right.
I'm not clean.
And
it's not like it's not sanitary.
There's other parts. Did you just?
Yeah, no, thank God we did not put that. Oh, thank
Ryan,
God.
you missed the opportunity.
Man.
God.
God damn it, Ryan.
That was that.
Holy
I was
shit.
demonstrating
Zach
how
was
brushing my
definitely-
teeth.
Oh well, now you're the
Yeah,
clip.
right,
now Brad's the clip.
I don't just brushing my teeth.
Okay. Well,
Anyways,
enough of the Ryan Ripken show.
That's
for the night.
that's your first poll for the night.
Oh.
52% say no, by the way, and 47 say yes. That's a polarizing poll.
I think if I need to use it,
I'm gonna coin that.
If I need to use it, I will use it, but I use my own.
You're in a well, yeah, right. Like you're not just randomly grabbing it. Like you guys, there's only one toothbrush in the house. But like if you are in a pinch and you're just like, oh, don't have my toothbrush.
I could never bring myself to do it. It's just a it's a
that doesn't
sanitary
surprise
thing.
me at all.
Can
I know Rocco's probably the same way. Rocco doesn't even like putting in the same somebody else's earpiece.
Even
So-
after we clean it.
Yeah.
But
Rocco has to get a whole new earpiece every single time that we switch like mics or something, and it adds like 3 minutes onto the process.
Well, I think when he did the one chip challenge, he did not care. He was because Rocco and I switched places like 3 times, and he was too
he
caught
had
up.
so much else.
Wasn't thinking about it.
Processing. Yeah, there was.
all right. Well, let's get back to a little bit of sports talk now, shall we? Oh gosh, Kevin, no one's safe for you.
What?
You are well because he is a young cat lady.
That is true.
It's not.
I actually there's a cat that I have, and there was an emergency where he went to the bathroom in the wrong place, and I had to clean that up before I came into the studio. So
Awesome.
That was nice.
And
All right.
all right, and football, sports. We were talking about Justin Herbert a second ago. Speaking of him, Sean Merriman, former Charger, former Maryland Terp, first-round pick, All-Pro. I think he knows a little bit about the game. He was at Radio Row this week so far. He was asked about Justin Herbert in comparison to another quarterback that has been highly criticized over the last few years. So we're going to play the clip for you right now.
Still better than Dak. So
Top three?
take that, Cowboys fan.
Top
I
three?
hope y'all listening out there because he's still better. He regressed, right? I mean, this past season because I think the team just didn't do well, right? He got injured also too, but the team just didn't do well. He didn't look that good. I thought no identity. They couldn't find a rhythm. They were barely winning games. They probably should have blown teams out. Scoring 6 points against the Patriots. All that stuff is just a horrible way to go about it. And we'll see what Okay, Dak Prescott went to the playoffs, had a great year, went to the playoffs, got bounced. He'll get a max deal and possibly get bounced again next year. So we'll see.
God
All right.
damn.
So Sean didn't hold back anything there.
Does he?
About how he felt.
I love that about
Nobody
him.
cares that Sean does it, but when I do it,
Well,
You're not Sean Merriman. You
I
don't
know.
get called
But
lights out.
still,
yeah, you're not called lights out. You haven't played in the NFL. You wouldn't whoop somebody's ass if you did insult them either. In that
no. But I
case-
definitely have a better right hook than Zach over here.
We're gonna have to see. Maybe we
Well-
sign him up.
sign him up, as Sean will always say with Lights Out. That's his fighting group. If you want to go and look at it, it's on Fubo Sports all the time. We'll bring that up another time. But Sean says he's looking for more people to sign him up for those events.
Yeah.
But how about this, guys? It's interesting because Herbert's been criticized quite a lot. He can't win the big game and
Paid a shit ton of money.
paid a lot of money, can't win the game. Dak Prescott. I always thought it was very unfair with Justin Herbert because also we're talking about your link with your head coach. It was obviously problematic that in close games, the Chargers were on the worst side of it where they were losing those close games or they were having catastrophic letdowns like that Jacksonville playoff game down in Duval. So, all right, guys, we'll go around the panel here. Is Sean right? Is Justin Herbert the quarterback you would rather have over Dak Prescott?
1,000%.
Yeah, I say the same thing.
Yeah.
I think there's more potential there. And I know everyone, we talk about potential and everything, and obviously Dak's a great quarterback, but I think I still love everything that Herbert has, like just his skill set and everything. I think with the right coach like Jim Harbaugh, the sky's the limit for that team, especially if they can get a run game and actually protect him so he's not running for his life every play. I think Herbert puts up a better year next year than Dak does.
Well, it's not even just that, right? Because like Brandon Staley lost how many close games?
Yeah.
And so I think that like Justin Herbert his record would be so much better. And I don't think it's an indictment on Herbert. I think it was Staley. We all know that. So when you get Jim Harbaugh in there, I'm really kind of excited to see what kind of production he gets out of that Chargers team. He takes a lot of those close games and turns them into W's, and the Chargers are a playoff team.
Yeah, they have Chargers have some contracts they got to figure out though. There are some guys that aren't going to be with that team next year. I know Khalil Mack's kind of the conversation point there, and he doesn't play offense obviously.
There
but
was rumors that he could come to the Ravens.
yeah,
too.
I saw that. There's a lot. I don't know. I think for me, Herbert is. You see the tantalizing potential that's there. And for Dak, I think he's a good quarterback. But again, it's just like the big moment turnover, some of the stuff with me that I just think is a part of Dak's identity now. Like that is seared into his identity. Whereas for Justin, I think that there is potential to, again, be up in the conversation with, some of the top quarterbacks. And he's not there yet for me. He's a top 10 quarterback in my eyes.
Well, there was 5 games left in the season this season. And Dak Prescott was still number 2 when it comes to MVP. Until he got wrecked by winning teams. And that's something that Zach and I had talked about all season. Like Dak Prescott hasn't played anybody worth a damn.
And then when he did,
he didn't show up. And so like that's been the big problem with Dak Prescott. Justin Herbert kind of seems to be unfazed by that kind of stuff. And maybe it's because the spotlight isn't on him as much as somebody like Dak, but Dak should be able to handle it. And if you can't, somebody else has got to go in there.
Well, in those cases too, it was a lot of, for Herbert's games, not all of them, and I know they bring up certain games, but there was a lot of games. The first game of the year, Dolphins, Chargers, Herbert balled out.
Yeah.
Just the fact that this defense that Brandon Stanley is a defensive-minded coach, gave up a shit ton of points. The game that got Staley fired, even though they didn't have Herbert playing in that game, they gave up 35 points in the first half, 35-0. And I know that it's the quarterback not there, but what I'm saying is when you have a defensive-minded coach and the most expensive or second most expensive defense, and you weren't having success, to me, it was looking at Herbert did as much as he possibly could, but I feel like his ceiling hasn't been reached.
No.
He's 25 years old. Compared to Dak being 30, give me Herbie out there. I think it's going to be fun. And Jim Harbaugh even said like he's a treasure that he got Justin Herbert. And I think when you hear
Herbert's 25
years old. So that's my point. I think when you match him up with a guy like Jim Harbaugh, he's got a great track record.
Yeah.
Things seem to click after that. And let's go back to this. Alex Smith, before Jim Harbaugh came in there, then the Niners are a perennial Super Bowl contender. Colin Kaepernick comes in. Colin Kaepernick's one of the top quarterbacks, and they are a Super Bowl contender.
Well, he did that QB switch in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Yep.
And went to the NFC Championship.
Went to the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, yeah, correct. Yeah.
So,
because he took Alex Smith to the NFC Championship. Then next year was the midway switch.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody ripped Jim Harbaugh for doing that, and it turns out, worked out just fine.
Well, and he also said he's like, well, we like Alex and we like Colin. I was one of my favorite too. We like both of them, so we might play him. That was like a comment like that. But the other point is, wherever he went, Andrew Luck was his quarterback at Stanford, right? So going back then, so he's been around good players, and it's felt like he knows what to do. So I think this could be the best thing for Justin Herbert moving forward. And if he's healthy, I think the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh actually are going to have a better chance to win the division than necessarily with Dak and the Cowboys. It's what else can you do that you haven't already done? And maybe that's on the defensive side, just because it just feels like the ceiling is, we're already seeing what kind of ceiling of the Dallas offense is. Like how good it was, how much better can it be? That's going to be the question. And I guess we're going to have to find that out, right? Let's move on a little bit, shall we? Let's move on down the list. A couple things, quick hitters here. Apparently Chad Ochocinco was going to be a Raiders coach, Zach. Then he's not a Raiders coach. He's just messing with everyone on social media.
Yeah. So what was it? Like a day or two ago, this big announcement comes out that Chad Ochocinco is going to be joining the Raiders staff. And then Ochocinco today just tweeted out, was like, I'm just joking, guys. I was just having fun on social media, which might be the most just Chad Ochocinco thing to ever happen, is him jokingly. It's like, remember when Steve Smith, what was it, a year ago, put out that he was joining the Giants staff as a wide receivers coach, and then just it was all for a promo for NFL Network. He like did a mic'd up and went there for like one day. So who knows? It could be something that's in the works that they're like having him go do a mic'd up thing there again. But just what a weird situation.
Yeah, it's not normal. That's
although do we expect anything else with Chad Ochocinco?
Well, he likes to have fun.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. He likes to mess around. But how about this? Might be a stranger topic, and maybe because Chad Ochocinco here, we know like he likes to mess around. It fits his personality. The reports coming out about Mike Vrabel is puzzling to me. For
mind blowing.
Is that there's reports, if you guys haven't heard them, that Mike Vrabel was intimidating prospective GMs or owners not because of his personality, which if you want to say he's an intimidating personality, I'd be fine with. The quote was, or the report is that his physical presence is what intimidated people.
Yeah. So Diana Rossini said that this is a quote from her. She said, I had a GM at the Senior Bowl who mentioned to me Mike Vrabel's physical build, that he is a very large human being and can be very intimidating to people in an organization that are going to be part of these decisions. Like, what is that supposed to even mean? Mike Vrabel is just going to go in and kick your ass if he doesn't agree with something that you say. That was absolutely mind blowing to me. And there's also other very large coaches in the NFL.
Oh, you mean Dan Campbell?
Yeah.
That guy is an
absolute beast.
And if you want me to look that, I was looking this up the other night, but I want to make sure. He's 6'5", by the way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's weighing this much now, but I'm just giving the context of it. Talk about massive individual here. He's over 6'5", and at one point he was saying he's 265.
That's Dan Campbell?
Yes.
And what's Mike Vrabel?
I don't even know. And I mean, if you're afraid of Mike Vrabel, what were you then thinking if you saw Dan Campbell?
Yeah. Or, I mean, there's got to be other like big former players that are coaches that are just big human beings, because that's just who they are.
Yeah, Vrabel's 6'4".
Yeah, I just looked that up. He's 6'4", and it says he's 270, but I'm sure that's playing weight when he was in the NFL. So.
Yeah, it says 261. I mean, I'm sure around 260, 270 probably.
Yeah.
And he's gotten a little, squishy since leaving the NFL. So he's still, I don't know.
Vrabel's
he's a big dude.
He's a freaking.
I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying he's a little bit softer than he was when he's playing football, like a lot of players. And then it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, he's still probably pretty heavy. Probably 278 is probably accurate. But either way, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I still can't believe Mike Vrabel doesn't have a job in the NFL.
Yeah, and shout out Mike Vrabel, Ohio State legend, actually, if I think I got that context. And I'm trying to look at the Instagram more, because it's trying to handle different monitors here, guys, and maybe that will be a problem even more in the future.
We'll address that.
Yeah, I guess maybe we'll address that. Hey, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate that.
Hey, hold on a second. I just was refreshing my screen on X. What the fuck is this?
Oh, it's Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursday. So for those that don't want to know, that's yours truly and Chicago White Sox outfielder, first baseman, Gavin Sheets. We both.
That's Gavin. Yeah,
that's Gavin. Yeah. Do you not see the tag at Clean Sheets 24?
Why has it got the B on the hat?
Oh, so we were playing in a thing called the President's Cup, and so that's where you'd play
That hair,
teams
man.
in the ball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look
I
at that.
know.
Look at that flow.
Talk about peak performance, and I did felt cute. Definitely will delete later. I kind of meant it, but it's up there now. Yeah, that was us. I think it was our junior year, his freshman year, and you know what? It was just a iconic moment in the history for us.
Gavin was a little bit of a chunkster in high school.
He was a little thick.
What place
He's
did I
thicker
see
now.
you have a medal? What medal is that?
No, I think we won the thing.
Oh.
Slight flex.
Mhm.
Okay.
We won the thing. Did they do that much at Loyola?
Oh,
Oh wow! Actually, we got a my junior. I didn't play, but they won the championship first time in like 70 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
All because of
Take
you.
that.
All because of you.
Yeah, it was my energy. I was just
Yeah.
exuberates off me. They're like, they saw me and they're like, yeah, we'll go win a ship.
shout out,
There
mom.
you go.
Yeah.
Mom's watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shout out, mom.
Shout out the Gilman boys.
Yeah.
And actually too, my other buddy, because I'm now looking at the Instagram trap. One of my friends started that game, and actually no, that was next year, Charles, by the way. But one of my buddies went 5 2/3 innings of no-hit baseball. He
Wow.
doesn't get the no-hitter because my buddy who started the game had to be the jackass and gave up the hit.
Oh,
So,
damn.
and the quote was from my friend after, it was one of the best mounds he pitched on. We pitched at Camden Yards. I'm like, Charles,
That's pretty cool.
what other mounds have you pitched on that were
One
that
of.
damn good?
Yeah.
One of, but enough of that. I digress. Let's dive into a little bit of the Super Bowl, shall we, guys?
Let's do it.
Super Bowl topics. Obviously, we heard in Baltimore, do you really want to watch the game? I don't want to watch it. You're watching the game if you love football.
Yeah.
You're turning the game on. Don't be that guy. Don't be that person that says you're not going to watch it. But a couple of things from Media Row so far that we found interesting. The first thing being, let's talk about the Chiefs, because a lot of people have kind of felt a certain type of way about the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's start with the fact that everyone thinks that they have taken the villain role. And actually, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce were both asked about what it means to be taking on that villain role. They both gave very different answers. We're going to start with Patrick Mahomes, and then we'll go to Travis Kelce's next.
Chris Jones talked about the fact that you guys are now becoming like the villains of the NFL. There's a growing narrative out there. I know everyone prefers to be liked, but is it a role that you kind of enjoy in a way? Do you feed off of that?
Not necessarily. I think I just like winning. If you win a lot and that causes you to be a villain, then I'm okay with it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to enjoy playing the game and try to win as much as possible.
So there's Patrick Mahomes, and he was saying about, he just cares about the winning. Winning this doesn't matter. I'm not focused on it, but I'll take on the role if I have to. Now, Travis Kelce had a very different reaction, Brad, and we're going to play that for you guys right now.
It's been an absolute. Y'all are firing me up, making me want to play right now, baby. I love the boos more than I love the cheers, baby. Keep them coming, Niners gang. Keep them coming.
I like the boos more than I like the cheers. Has Travis Kelce become more of an asshole this year than ever before?
I love that, by the way. I'm with him. I'd rather get booed, and maybe because I did get booed a lot with just, growing up. I don't think he's being that way, but he definitely has become more edgy, Brad.
That's what I mean. Like in the Ravens game, he was definitely like
Oh, yeah.
swinging his dick around all over the place. And it just seems like it's gotten more and more, especially this year, than I think I've ever
I think the spotlight's on him more specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think before it's always been on Mahomes, and like Mahomes is obviously brother and his family and all those, side characters there. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now everyone wants to hear what Travis Kelce wants to talk about. So obviously now he also has the New Heights podcast. So that also could be a thing, because every time he does something controversial like this, not that this is necessarily controversial, but
No.
then people tune in immediately to his podcast the next episode to see what he comments about. I mean, the Justin Tucker thing, immediately went to the podcast and talked about it and blew up.
And I think I think the Tucker thing got a lot of people, specifically Ravens fans, on, because I saw a lot on social media like, oh, I didn't have a problem with Travis until the whole Justin Tucker thing happened. And I think it's been a year-long thing for him, where I agree, he's just been in the spotlight more. But I think the Tucker thing is the Tucker stuff just kept going and going, and there was just a new thing for like 4 or 5 straight days, whether it was Mahomes or Kelce.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's like, can he just It's like, just stop talking about it. But it just felt like they were dragging it on for such a long time and almost clowning Justin Tucker in a way, which I think got a lot of people on their bad side.
Recency bias, definitely, with people in Baltimore doing it. And the other part, when the Chiefs were struggling and he was more frustrated earlier this year, everyone's like, Kelsey's lost a step. He's not playing as well. It's kind of done. And he kind of, in the whole sense of everything, was just kind of like, screw all of you.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'm not going to be this nice guy anymore. And also, if you think guy's being an asshole and he's doing whatever, then stop him. But you know what? Who walks the walk and talks the talk? It's Travis Kelce. He does it all. In the postseason, the dude is unstoppable.
Yeah.
And he is a huge reason why, granted, he had like the 10 catches in the first half against the Ravens, but the dude just balls out in big moments. So until he gets stopped, he can do whatever the hell he wants, but he's definitely taking on more of an edge. Kelce brothers over Manning brothers? It depends on what you like.
I don't know about that.
I'm taking Manning personally.
Same.
Well, what is that? Careers or
No, just like.
Well, I think careers too, but
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like personality.
it depends what you. I agree. It depends what you like. It depends what you like.
Well, because I think Eli's the funnier Manning.
Oh, for sure.
And then I think, okay, Jason is obviously the funnier, I think, Kelce. So I'm trying to think which. But
That's a tough call.
Well, let me
Yeah,
tell you
I think it's
that
really
Peyton
close.
video of him nailing the kids
Oh
with
my-
the ball,
all time.
one of my
All-time.
favorite videos
one of
ever.
the greatest videos ever produced.
So-
Of
Well,
all
and then
time.
Eli was in that rap battle this week.
That was
Yes.
electric too.
That's the thing.
It's hilarious.
I think I gotta go with the Mannings.
Yeah. Although for Travis Kelce, not coming like to defense or anything, I think he was injured for pretty much the whole year. I think that injury he
Yeah.
suffered before it was literally before week 1. And he missed week 1, I think, right?
Yeah,
And
that's week 1.
I think that's been hindering him. And I think we're now seeing, I don't know, I think he just has been healthier in the playoffs. I just, we've seen Travis Kelce, and I don't know what that was, but I think he has been injured for pretty much all the season.
Oh, no doubt. It's definitely injuries. We talked about this with baseball. We've mentioned this.
Yeah.
I know you're laughing. I'll get to it in a second. But when injuries happen before a season, no matter what it is, it sets back players so much because you're training the entire season or off season to get ready, and all of a sudden something happens, and then you got to go to war, at least for football, each day where your body's going to be put through the ringer. And for Travis Kelce, that knee injury to start, there's no way you're not going to re-aggravate that without something over the course of the next 4 or 5 months. So it's an interesting point to bring up, but whether he was or wasn't, what's going on right now is Travis Kelce is doing his damn thing again. Are you mentioning what my mom commented on?
That's what I was laughing at. Correct. I actually have another. So if you guys didn't catch Monday's poll, I put up a poll about halftime shows. And so then I took the 2 that won out of that poll, put them back in this one, and then added 2 more. And I'm actually very surprised so far. Now, there's only a small amount of votes that have come in because for whatever reason, we don't have a big show tonight. But Prince is taking it by like 80% have taken Prince. And I think Prince won last week too, or on Monday too. But
my vote's for
But
Prince.
it was a narrow margin. So it was a narrow margin between Prince and Dr. Dre and Eminem. And now Prince is just running away with it. So the other 2 options were Diana Ross leaves in the chopper. Some of you might not be old enough for that. Zach definitely wasn't, and neither was Kevin.
No.
But if you guys didn't see it, you should go watch it. Diana Ross was doing her thing. Fucking helicopter comes in, picks her up, takes her out of there.
Yeah.
In the
Man.
middle of the stadium. That
Well,
was
did
incredible.
Lady Gaga drop in?
Yeah,
Not by helicopter.
Not by
by
helicopter,
helicopter,
but she like jumped. Jumped in
from,
there.
Yeah, from like rafters or whatever.
Yeah.
But like that was, and this was 94, I think it happened. With Diana Ross got lifted up, and so that was a huge deal. Everybody's like, "Oh my god!" So that was cool. And then I put J-Lo and Shakira, which I thought was worth some votes, but it didn't get 1 vote.
Well, there you go. I will say, seeing Joe talk about Michael Jackson, that was the one performer, if I could say, that I could watch in person, because that's the one I've heard he's just a showstopper.
Well, yeah, then
know-
the Michael Jackson halftime show was okay. Maybe I'm being, my opinion may or may not matter, but Michael Jackson was okay. But with some of these other ones, they Kelly Ripken here says the halftime show Singing the Purple while it was pouring in Miami, like that kind of stuff, like the actual show was ridiculous.
It was really good.
Ridiculous.
Really good.
And like I said, Diana Ross being taken out in the helicopter, like that kind of stuff was just like, holy crap, like I can't believe this is happening on a football field. But what about this Backstreet Boys performance?
Yeah, we're gonna need to see those.
Oh, so actually, okay. So quick story time. We'll get back into talking about what Shannon Sharp had to say about Travis Kelce. When I was younger, I got to meet the Backstreet Boys behind stage. Yes, I was. Did I like boy bands then? Yes. Do I like them now? Yes. I think that it's great for the country. But we went to a concert, and it was right after the Ravens beat the Giants in Super Bowl 35. And you know when like Ray Lewis in the huddle would always be like, "What time is it? Game time." You know all that. Yeah. My mom was like, "Oh, you should say that to the Backstreet Boys because some of them were Giants fans." So I met them, and then I like sang / performed that like, "What time is it? Game time!" right in front of them, and they're like, "Oh, this is great." This like 7-year-old kid, and I have a photo with it to show the memory of it. And then I think I sang my heart out to "I Want It That Way." So it was a really great
who
night.
doesn't do that?
That's awesome.
I mean, that's not even remotely embarrassing because everybody does that.
Yeah,
If you don't, you're weird.
I mean, yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit it. The boy bands, bring them back. The Backstreet Boys, bring them back. Incredible stuff. Travis Kelce, though, so they talked about him a little bit. Shannon Sharp weighed in on this. Shannon Sharp's one of the best tight ends to ever play the position. But he was commenting on how he views Travis Kelce in the hierarchy of tight ends to ever play the game.
Obviously, you got a lot of experience in this game. Got two great tight ends, probably two of the best in the league right now with Travis Kelce, George Kittle. Obviously, great receiving, but I think both of them do a good job in that run game too. What are you expecting to see from these guys on both offenses in this game?
You know, normally when teams have great tight ends, they struggle covering the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've noticed. I mean, we struggle when I was in the league. I mean, playing with the Broncos, if the other team had a really good to a great tight end, we struggle covering them. They struggle covering me.
Yep.
The thing is that both of these guys are so great at run after the catch. So, in other words, you got to do a great job of where he catches the ball. You got to make sure he doesn't go any further than that, because Kittle is a monster with the ball in his hand, and he's basically an offensive lineman that can catch and run because he's dominating the point of attack. Normally, linebackers have success against tight ends have success against linebackers or against smaller guys. This man can manhandle defensive end. He'll take a D end one-on-one and wipe him out.
Yeah, saw it last week.
He's unbelievable. And then you got Kelce, who's so slithery, so smooth. I mean, with the swag that he has, when you see him walking around, he plays like that on the field.
Yeah, I got that Kelce face.
Yeah. I don't know who thought that was a great idea. To start off Black History Month, it was the white guy that created it. But if you watch Kelce and the way he moves, and you watch the wavelength that he and that Patrick Mahomes have together, man, that's why I got him as for me, he's my GOAT tight end. Because if you look at
a big statement. That's huge.
But if you and people say, well, Shannon, what about Gronk? Okay, he can match Gronk stat for stat. Playoffs, he can match, and he one-ups him in the regular season. I mean, he puts up numbers like he's a wide receiver. I mean, prior to him, no tight end had more than 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He's put together 6, 7, 8. He was 16 yards away from putting together another 9th 1,000-yard season. And then when he gets to the playoffs, he raises his level.
Just past Jerry Rice.
There's something to be said about a guy that, okay, he performs at this level in the regular season. But once he gets to the playoffs, he goes here. There have been very few guys that can raise their level of play once it comes to the postseason. That's what sets him, that's what set the Gronks apart from all the other tight ends, is that once they got to the playoffs and we knew what they were, we knew teams were trying to take them out, and they take their level of play to another level.
All right, so it's an interesting discussion because the game has evolved so much.
Yes.
And to give context to it, Travis Kelce has revolutionized that tight end position as far as a tight end that could be a wide receiver. He had 7 straight years of over 1,000 receiving yards from a tight end, which is unheard of. He has over 11,000 receiving yards for his career. But it's an interesting, because what do you value? Because you hear people talk about guys like Gronk that could block, do the dirty work, but he was physically unstoppable as well. And obviously his career was retired, cut short with injuries on different occasions. So I don't know where I stand with it, but who wants to start with this off? Where do you put Travis Kelce after hearing Shannon Sharp explain his reason?
Travis Kelce is in my top 5, but he's not even in my top 3.
So if that's the question, who's in your top?
Yeah, what's
three?
your list?
Tony Gonzalez is the greatest of all time. 116 touchdown catches and 6 most touchdown catches of all time amongst all players. That's Tony Gonzalez. And until Travis Kelce gets anywhere close to that, I mean, I'm not having that conversation the greatest of all time. Number 2 would be Antonio Gates. 236 games, 955 catches, almost 12,000 yards, and 116 touchdowns as well, up there with Tony Gonzalez. And then, of course, my third one would be none other than Rob Gronkowski. I don't need to, give his accolades there, but it's Rob. It's those three: Tony Gonzalez, and then Travis Kelce comes underneath of that. But Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, and Rob Gronkowski are top 3 of all time, and Travis Kelce can get there. He's not far from that. He plays another 3 years, he probably surpasses those guys. But until he does, he's not in my top 3.
Yeah, I have that as the top 3 too, with Gonzalez, Gates, and Gronkowski. Kelsey's 4 for me right now, and then I think if you want to go Shannon, or I think Jason Witten also deserves to be in the conversation. Ozzie Newsome obviously is in that as well. Yeah. So there are a bunch, but I think in terms of top 5 for me, it's Gonzalez, Gates, Gronkowski, Kelce, and then I'll give it to Shannon Sharp at 5.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, like you guys said, I don't think he is there yet. I think he's got the potential. I think at the end of the day, Brad, you said 3 years. I think if he plays 3 more years and it's close to what he's doing right now, I think he ends up being the greatest tight end of all time. If he can continue this.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment, I think there are people that are still just have that edge over him statistically. But just watching him play, it's hard not to think that he could go down as one of the greatest.
I would be
if not the
curious.
greatest.
I would be curious to see what kind of stats he would have if he was with a mediocre running quarterback. Now I know he had Alex Smith or whatever, but Tony Gonzalez, can you name me someone other than Matt Ryan that threw to Tony Gonzalez?
Trent Green.
Was Matt? No, Matt Castle was that after he had left?
That's what I'm saying. This is my point. This is my point. Tony Gonzalez was catching touchdowns from, that's how open he got. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that Travis Kelce doesn't deserve to be in the conversation, but it's just Tony was doing some crazy things with mediocre quarterbacks at best. So, I mean, I just think when it comes to talking about greatest of all time, I think you have to have that conversation of how much was he able to produce with hardly anybody that was thrown, that you can even mention that was thrown to him other than a Matt Ryan. That's it.
Well, and the other part too, tight ends are asked to do more than just catch the ball.
Yeah.
They got to block. They sometimes have to block edge rushers. You got to block in the hole, whatever it may be. They have to do the dirty work on top of going to make good plays. And if there's someone sometimes they say with Travis, which I don't think is fair either, but always not a great blocking tight end. They said that about Mark Andrews initially too, right? They said that Mark's only a passing tight end, which if you watch Mark's game, that's not how he plays. But that's what the thought is. I want to read off the top 3 receiving yards if we're going to talk about that stat for a second. Tony Gonzalez leads the group over 15,000 yards. Jason Witten is second with over 13,000. Then Antonio Gates, 11,841. Travis Kelce sits at 11,328. So he needs 513 yards to move into 3rd all-time, and it's going to be a challenge for him to, if it depends on how long he wants to play, he's going to have to play probably 2 or 3 more seasons if he wants 3 more seasons. Tony Gonzalez has him by almost 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
He's going to have to play at the highest level he ever has to beat that. And you're right, Tony Gonzalez, you forget about how damn good he is.
Yeah.
And if people watch him on Amazon or Fox, wherever he's doing nowadays, dude was a stud.
He still is. He could still go out there and play.
He could, no doubt about that. All right, other things. This is another conversation that we've had in the past about Brock Purdy. Well, in this case, another Raven connection here. Torrey Smith, and we have that clip, right, Brad?
Yeah.
We have the clip about Torrey Smith weighing in on his belief about Brock Purdy.
But you two, when you were talking about it, have just a sense of we know what we're looking at. What is anybody else looking at? When you're looking at this matchup, what do you think we'll get out of Brock Purdy in Super Bowl 58?
I mean, I think we're going to see the best version of him, right? And if he plays the way he's supposed to. Now, you can never predict it, but I think he's ready for the moment. I think he has the ability. Well, I think we all overdo it when we talk about the franchise quarterback situation. I think everyone overthinks it. right? And what I mean by that is Brock Purdy is a guy that you can win because he is your quarterback.
Right.
And if you go back and look at the guys who won the Super Bowl over the course of the last, go back 10, 12 years, most of them are Tom Brady, right? And even beyond that,
Brady or
there aren't
Patrick.
very many guys, yet there's been 15 to 20 guys who've been paid record-breaking contracts. So I think for him, it goes to show that he's worth it, and you can win because he's your quarterback, and they would be foolish to not put everything they can behind this young cat as he grows and develops.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about whether or not he's the quarterback of the future of them. Is it contingent on this game? And Tori's saying he is.
He is.
And Tori just talked to Jed, y'all. So that's all you need to know.
So there is something that I look at. There's still the question, even though Brock Purdy has gone to the NFC Championship game both years and to the Super Bowl, there's still the thought, is he the quarterback next season? Right? That's still a conversation. But what I did like to hear, though, is that Torrey Smith believes that Brock Purdy can win this game for him. He has to be Brock. I think that's the part. I think we can all agree. We don't have to say MVP or whatever you're going to think, and we've had this discussion over and over again. Brock Purdy is a very, very good quarterback in the NFL, and he deserves the credit for getting the team to the Super Bowl. Zach.
Yeah, I think Tori put it perfectly. He's a guy that you can win games as the quarterback. He's going to do whatever it takes, and he's going to put the team in a position to go and win the football game. You know, obviously people know my takes over this past year. I didn't think Purdy belonged in the MVP, top 3 MVP conversation. But if you think he's not the guy to build around in San Francisco, then you haven't been watching. I mean, it's pretty simple as that. Everything he's done since he's stepped foot there has proven that you can't go away from what he's doing, especially being Mr. Irrelevant. His contract, he's getting paid nothing still over the next 2 years. You would be stupid as a franchise to not continue with him.
Yeah, but that's where I feel like it's and that's why I tell people, at least with the Baltimore connection with Lamar Jackson, it's people are still having the thought, Lamar can't win the big game. Should he have been the long-term answer? Should you have signed him to the extension? You're sitting here and be like, why? Why are we having this discussion? I feel like Brock Purdy's getting that all the time because he was Mr. Irrelevant. And I'm not saying Brock is the same as Lamar Jackson. That's not what I'm saying. But it's the same, I guess, hypocrisy when people complain that Lamar can't do it, and then they say that about Brock Purdy, about a quarterback that can't do it.
Yeah.
The guy's won. He can't help of who's on his team.
No.
He's doing the best with what he has, and what he has done has been one of the top quarterbacks since he's taken over as quarterback.
He's not losing games, right? And like Cam Newton called a bunch of flack about this, but I don't think that he was wrong. He talked about how Brock Purdy was a game manager, and he wasn't even using the term game manager as a negative connotation. It was just that he's a really good game manager. He's not a playmaker. He's not a game changer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Patrick Mahomes is a game changer. Lamar Jackson is a game changer. Josh Allen is a game changer. I wonder, Ryan, or anybody else, with this lower paid quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant, he's making what, like just over $1 million this year?
It's almost nothing. Yeah.
The payroll surrounding him is absolutely insane. And you got to wonder, if the 49ers do win a Super Bowl this year, do other teams start to copy this? They start to pay and load up on both sides of the ball with some ridiculous talent. And then they get a quarterback that maybe doesn't have to do it all. And maybe they actually make it more of a complete team where you have a quarterback that you don't have to pay $250 million to or more.
Yeah.
And you can still find a way to win. Like, is that a formula that other teams can adopt?
What you're saying is that you just reset after the quarterback clock's over.
Are we going back to the Bucky Brooks? Which remember when it was you have Lamar, you graduate Lamar, and you bring Justin Fields, and remember that conversation?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the formula for every team, I mean, the most success is you can't keep everybody in any sport, right? Football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is. When you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, especially with how the contracts are nowadays, I mean, it's only going to continue with all these star quarterbacks, reset the market. You can get a guy in there for 4 or 5 years with a 5th-year option, and you can load up on both sides of the ball. I think that's the formula nowadays. I mean, we've seen it doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the league, but I think you can win with both a game changer and a game manager. I just think that the term game manager has come under such a negative light because of what Cam Newton had to say. Not that it was necessarily intentional or anything, but I think the point that he was making was, oh, these guys fall under a category where they're not a Mahomes or they're not an Allen or a Lamar or anybody like that. So that's the connotation with it. But I think the success, if you're building a blueprint, you want to have a quarterback on a rookie contract and lit up on both sides of the ball, because once that quarterback gets signed, you can maneuver the cap and kind of bend it a little bit, but it's always going to come back.
Yeah,
and
but
I think
what happens
at that point?
What happens when? And I'm sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off,
okay.
but like, what happens when you have your highest paid? I mean, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, San Francisco has the highest paid offensive line and they have the highest paid defensive line. Yes, and then you don't necessarily need Brock Purdy after five years if you don't want him. My point is that, like, you could find somebody just as talented as him in the draft.
Okay, yeah.
And
So
then plug him back in.
if you don't have a Mahomes or Lamar or an Allen, you get rid of the
Correct.
game manager.
Correct.
You
And-
let him
okay.
walk. But here's the other thing I will argue with that is that quarterback is the hardest position in the NFL, because that's where if you don't get enough really good quarterback play, your team is not going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl. More cases than not, if we go over the years and we joke
Yeah,
around.
Trent Dilfer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People will go back to, but that was 2000. That defense was historic in Baltimore.
But okay,
So
was Eli Manning elite? Was he an elite quarterback, or was it that defense of Michael Strahan that got them to the Super Bowl?
I think it's a combination of Eli to me was like Joe Flacco. You show up in the big moments, and then you let your defense do what they got to do. But if you look at the last 20 years, let's take a look back here.
It's hard because Tom Brady was made up 10 of them.
So Tom Brady. So if you're looking at the last 20 years, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have won now 9. Mahomes has 2 Super Bowls, right? So they've won 9 Super Bowls during that period. Joe Flacco, Peyton Manning's won a couple. Eli Manning's won a couple. Ben Roethlisberger. And so when you're looking at all of this, and this was, again, Ben was young. Eli was, in that middle area. That was kind of in his up and coming years. But excuse me, the point being, so many teams, it's such a risk to say, well, we think you're really good, but we need to save money and risk missing out on at least being in that contending world. Because if you don't have a good quarterback for the most part, which we've seen, your team's going to struggle to win the big game. That's just the reality of it. The only exceptions in the last 2 decades that I can think of, Trent Dilfer, if you're going to say he wasn't elite, and Nick Foles coming to win in the last, because then it was Brady. So let's think about these quarterbacks. Tell if they're not elite. Brady, Breeze, Manning, Mahomes, Kurt Warner, Russell Wilson, and he was early, but that defense was historic. But Russell's a very good player.
Kurt Warner did. Oh well, I guess
you weren't born.
I was
yet.
thinking back to the Steelers, and I was like, they lost that one, Ryan. But I was thinking since continue.
I know. So again, when you're hearing all the names, it's a lot of play. And then the other 2, Eli Manning and Joe Flacco.
But you also hear, or you also see a lot really talented quarterbacks that don't have the supporting cast, and then the blame fault comes back down on the quarterback on why he's not winning. So I think that there's always a balance, and there's a game that has to be played on shuffling players around and moving money where it needs to go. But I don't know. This just seems like something we haven't really seen before, or at least in a while, that the 49ers are doing. And you just got to wonder if other teams are going to try to duplicate that, because it's a copycat league always.
Oh yeah. Well, once somebody doesn't have success, they're going to try to do it otherwise. And I actually was hearing some conversations, and we'll talk about it for a different time. So what do you do if you're trying to sign Justin Jefferson in the Kirk Cousins situation?
Yeah.
More likely than not, if you want to keep Justin Jefferson, it's going to be very hard to keep Kirk Cousins unless he takes a massive discount.
Or the Justin Fields situation. Like, I was trying to think about this too, and I don't mean to get off topic because I know we got stuff to talk about, but I thought this would be fun, and we can talk about this after the Super Bowl. But just chew on this. Justin Fields to the Steelers, and I think
hate it.
I know, but I think that could be.
I'm going to stick on my Kyler to the Steelers take, even though I don't think it happens.
I still think the best opportunity for Justin Fields outside of Chicago would be Atlanta.
Yeah,
I think that'd be fun.
Well, best opportunity, sure.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think of like who needs a quarterback right now, but that can win, and that has one that went into the playoffs, and that would be crazy if it was the Steelers.
So I do want to point this out real quickly. And this question, at least, Andy's saying 49ers have been having quarterback problems for the last decade. The point that I just want to mention here is if we were to say you're going to move on from a really good quarterback, there have been organizations that have been trying to find a franchise quarterback for
ever.
Yeah. Right. So that's where
the Cleveland Browns.
And it's still, Joe Flacco was the best option that they've had over the years because Deshaun Watson's situation not being healthy.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's an interest. Like I love that type of conversation because you really don't know what's going to happen. But what we do know what's going to happen here is we're going to talk a little bit about the Orioles here in a second. We're going to talk about some fun props, but talk about a guy that was having fun. How about Kyle Shanahan? And what I mean by having fun, we'll let you guys interpret how Kyle might have felt during a recent interview he had at Media Row and see if he was not feeling any pain, so to speak.
It's funny to hear Jed say that because it wasn't the smartest moment I've ever had. I mean, when an owner comes in after training camp practices and is like, hey, how's the quarterback? And what he means is the starter or the second. And you in irritation go, I don't know, but our third guy's the best. Like, that's not what he wants to hear. So that's why he remembers it very strong. But that was just more, Brock was so good right away with every rep he got. He was always the same. And he only got a couple of them. So it was easy for me to say. Because in his few reps, he was the best. But if you know that for a fact, I mean, then you do what you do right away. But he was the best. But you ease that on. And every time he got a little more reps, it was the same as when he got 2. And so when it was all said and done and he got a lot of playing time, it was like, oh, this looks exactly like what I told you when I was irritated. And he only had 3 reps. And I said, no, he's the best. But that's what was so real about Brock. That's why after his 7 games, his rookie year, even when he got hurt, we knew what we had because he'd been that way in practice every day. And it was the exact same way in the games.
Kyle Shanahan at 9 o'clock in the morning, ladies and gents.
Was Brock Purdy the best? I couldn't tell.
I tell you what, it was awesome.
He just it was the best part. My favorite part is just watching the person interviewing him.
Yeah.
Like
Michael Robinson.
Thank you.
Like, he just kept on like giving that half smile of like, please wrap this up.
Yeah, he's like, I know what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
he's like,
or just keep talking. Actually.
Yeah, Kyle just kept on going, and like he'd start to finish his point, and they'd be like, "But that's why at the end of the day, when he was the third quarterback, I said, and out of frustration, he was like, and I meant it. It was the first 2 reps, and he just kept going, and he let you know that it didn't take many reps, but they saw it.
Well, and so for those that didn't watch, maybe Kyle needed some glasses on or something to maybe hide the look, or maybe just less words. The context of it, because we have this on the audio version on Spotify and Apple. If you're listening, the interview, if you watch it, Kyle looks like he may or may not have had
toasted
1 or 2 or 12 tequila shots.
Yes.
So, and maybe that's hence why I'm wearing these glasses right now. It would have fit how he was sounding for that time, right? But you know what? Who cares? He's having a good time.
Yeah. Oh my God,
he's having fun.
It's incredible. It's incredible content. And anybody who shits on Kyle Shanahan for being wasted on Radio Row can kick rocks because it was hilarious and it was funny.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Enjoy yourself. I mean,
yeah. Who cares?
Just don't be that way on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
You know,
get it out of your system now.
Yeah. And then if you win, can you imagine what the after party would be like if you win?
It'd be like Tom Brady, tossing the Lombardi to a boat.
Great.
That tweet. What was the tweet? Too much avocado tequila. What kind of tequila was it? I think it was avocado tequila.
Whatever it was.
Yeah. Tom Brady tequila. What a time.
What a time. Hopefully, and I know people in Baltimore want to see a Super Bowl back, so we can see, Zach, you have some avocado and tequila.
Yeah, he misspelled just a little too much avocado tequila.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, I don't, but now I'm realizing avocado tequila then made a bunch of promos with Tom Brady.
Of course they did.
Good for them. We'll just see the moment and take it.
Why wouldn't you, by the way?
Yeah,
and also, hey, this is the Ryan Ripken Show. We do this every Monday and Thursday. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We do have some special shows, including one that might be coming up on Saturday. So stay tuned for those announcements as we go. But why don't we talk a little bit about the Super Bowl? Because this is the fun part, not about the game here. We'll do the game predictions in a second. It's the props, guys. The props themselves are so much fun. And even so, certain websites can have things that are printable Super Bowl prop printouts or whatever you want to call it. I might have said printout twice or 3 times now. But the first thing it starts with is length of the national anthem over under 87.5 seconds. Coin toss result. Obviously, the game winner, first offensive play of the game. Will there be a score in the first 7 minutes? Jersey number of the first touchdown scorer, odd or even. First accepted
That's actually
penalty.
electric.
Yeah.
It's the most gambled on event of the year, period. Hands down. It's not even close. There's nothing that even comes close to the Super Bowl.
My favorite bet, especially with the 2 coaches, masterminds going at it, trick guys, offensive lineman to score a touchdown. That's one of my favorite prop bets every year. Offensive lineman to score a touchdown.
I love it.
See, and if we had the Ravens in the Super Bowl, we could have had the Patrick Ricard anytime touchdown, and it was ruined.
Yeah, I know.
And you know what? They were waiting to save that for the Super Bowl.
They sure were.
They really were. 75 yards.
All right. I know we don't usually bring it up, but I am curious if there are going to be props about this. Like if they will offer props about Taylor Swift. Like I'm sure some books will. Yeah.
I'm curious about this too, because the AFC Championship game, she was on there for I think a total of 40 seconds the entire game.
Wasn't a lot.
So I'm sure she'll be on screen. She'll get some airtime, but I don't think it's going to be, because I wonder if people's complaints are being heard.
I think there's a direct correlation between how many times she's on and how Kelsey plays. Like, because if Travis Kelsey scores 3 touchdowns, like they keep going back to her. So I do think it's something where, like, as Travis Kelsey like keeps doing stuff, then they go and they're like, oh, and there's Taylor reacting.
Right. In the championship game, I think it was more like after the game was over, like the celebration, the float, and everything. That's when they showed her. But during the game, I remember early when this thing was still early. They were showing her after every other play, and it was like, come
early on, it was
a lot.
Yeah. That Jets game.
Well, that early on in their relationship, I thought you were talking about the Ravens game. If there was going to be a time to show her because of Travis doing well, Travis had, like I said, I believe he had like 10 catches in the first half. He was balling out early and often. Obviously the Gatorade, you saw Jack Settleman, who owns Snapback Sports. He was asked Kyle Shanahan about the Gatorade color and now what the odds of the Gatorade color for orange has now become the favorite, Zach, or something like that.
Yeah, no. Before Jack asked the question, I believe orange Gatorade was like plus 550, close to plus 600. Then after Kyle Shanahan said his favorite Gatorade flavor was orange, it's up to like, or down to like plus 320, and it's the favorite. So
just so people know, like, you can gamble on the color Gatorade that gets poured over the coach that wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, so
which
they
is crazy.
Him. But Kyle Shanahan said he drinks water on game day, and like water/clear Gatorade is plus 1,200. So
there's a clear Gatorade?
No, but that's just what they put instead of water.
I think there is. I think there is.
There is.
Well, there's like
it's fruit punch flavor.
Yeah,
I think.
It's like the Frost or something.
No, that's the blue. Hold on.
Are we gonna have to go down? This?
No, I think it's like cherry. It's something glacier cherry.
Glacier cherry. Yep, glacier cherry. There you go.
Boom.
Know your aid, Gatorade. That was impressive. Well, while we're at it, then, who wins this game, guys? We're gonna go around the panel real quick. Who wins? Zach.
So, I doubted Patrick Mahomes against the Bills and said that the Bills would win by 2 scores, and he proved me wrong. Then I said the Ravens were going to win by 2 scores, and he proved me wrong. And it really would take a dumbass to bet against Patrick Mahomes a 3rd straight time.
You're going to do it.
Thank God I'm the biggest dumbass I know. The 49ers are winning by 2 scores. What are we talking about? They are so much better all around. But I'm sure the Chiefs win. But 49ers by 2 scores is my official prediction.
Okay, so you said, just so we can clarify this,
49ers.
You're a dumbass.
Biggest dumbass I know.
But
49ers by 2 scores.
And then the Chiefs are going to win, but 49ers by 2 scores.
Yeah, but the Chiefs are only winning because I predicted 49ers by 2 scores.
So what happens if you predict the Chiefs by 2 scores? Are the 49ers going to win?
No, it's Travis
Chiefs
Kelce.
all the way.
I just think the Chiefs probably. But I do think 49ers are the better team. They should win.
All right. Well, we've heard that before. Brad, what do you think?
Well, before I get to mine, the people have spoken, and 69% pause.
Nice.
Think the 49ers are going to win. I think it's more of who they want to win, because 69% seems like an awful lot to 31% Chiefs. For me, look, it is definitely, I agree with Zach that the 49ers are the better team, but they have the Chiefs have played the better team these entire playoffs, in my opinion, and they have gone in and won. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game for the Chiefs. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think the Chiefs do win.
Kev, what you got?
I'm taking the 49ers, and I think it's something we talked about with the Ravens. I think I'm taking every McCaffrey over anytime, whatever it is. Chiefs run defense has not been good this season. And, it's hard to bet against Mahomes, hard to bet against Kelsey, but I don't know. I just feel like with the 49ers roster, if Brock Purdy can, play a good, doesn't have to be this, 400-yard, 5-touchdown performance. But I think, again, if he, for lack of a better term, manages the game well, I think that 49ers will win this one. I think it'll be close. And whenever I say it's close, it's a blowout. But I think it'll be close, and 49ers get the job done.
That Chiefs defense has been playing better than the 49ers defense.
That is true. That's true.
So as of late. So that's something to consider as well.
Well, they are a fantastic pass defense. They've had trouble a little bit with the run. I guarantee you, Christian McCaffrey is not going to get the ball 6 times. That I think is a guaranteed fact. He's going to get the ball early and often, whatever way it is. Through the air,
you guys see the thing? It was like, what would you do if you were handed $1 billion? And the top comment was Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown in the Super Bowl. It's electric.
So in that case, though, I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And also, apparently, coaches that have met again in the Super Bowl rematch, if the losing coach has never won the rematch. So in this case, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers lost the first time that they played, whatever it was, 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
And here we are again. So it's either going to be the first time in history that a rematch of Super Bowl head coaches on the same teams, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers win, or it stays undefeated and Andy Reid and the Chiefs are walking back with another Super Bowl title, their third, right?
Yeah. Brock Purdy will also be the youngest quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. Right? That's right?
Youngest
quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl.
Now you have me thinking.
Not to be in the Super Bowl, but win.
I know that he was one of the in the group of second-year quarterbacks.
Yeah, Roethlisberger won it at 23 and 11 months.
How old is Purdy?
That's
22. Is he 22?
No, he's 24. Purdy's 24.
So
he'd be
24 years, 1 month, and 15 days.
He'd be the
if he
second
joins
oldest.
Second oldest.
In front of Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is currently second. So he jumped
second
Patrick
youngest.
Mahomes.
So I guess what we're saying is it'd be a very big accomplishment for Brock Purdy to do what he's done at a young age. Weird. Maybe the guy should get a little bit more credit. Let's talk about guys getting credit here.
Shut up.
This guy.
Hey, you guys are those guys literally sitting on the couch wearing blue pants and whatever you're wearing. What the hell are you wearing?
Oh, got too silly, and it's a silly goose being arrested.
Yeah, what did the cops say when you got pulled over in that shirt?
Yeah, no, I wasn't wearing the shirt, but
I wish you would have been wearing
that. Got pulled over today for not coming to a complete stop.
Oh, you did?
In a parking lot. While leaving the gym. And I got a warning. And I think it was the officers, like he was a younger cop, and I could tell that this was like a training thing because he was going through the checklist, and then he was like, "Thank you," and just handed me a warning. We went off about our day. But yeah, I didn't come to a complete and total stop at a stop sign while leaving the gym in the parking lot.
Would have been great if you had that on and the officers.
I know.
What do you think you did here? You look down at your shirt, look up, you just go.
Hold on a second. Also, Andy Moore says I have no culture for wearing blue pants. What does that even mean?
No,
it's exactly what it means.
I'm wearing khakis. I'm true to my nickname today. Khaki Kev.
Is that your
nickname?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, because when I played baseball, I was a baseball guy.
I got something else for you, Andy.
Khaki Kev.
These are Crocs as well.
I don't know if that helps your case or
kiss
not.
My ass.
Well, I
Going for
Happy
comfort
Kevin.
today. Going for comfort.
Hey, you know what? Be comfortable. Be
I am.
comfortable in your own skin too. And if you're khaki Kev or blue pant Brad,
There you go.
you know, then do-
Incredible delivery.
Or
Do-
graphic tee, Zach.
Silly
But,
goose.
honestly,
silly Zach.
Honestly,
Zilly.
that's such a dope shirt.
Thank you. I love this design.
You know, maybe for a different time, I'll bring up. I think the first anytime you got pulled over, Crocs arrest this man.
Listen, I used to be that guy that wanted to arrest people who wore Crocs until I put my first pair on, and then I was like, oh.
I'll be honest, Crocs. I got sent a free pair. Didn't hate it.
Yeah,
and
I've never worn them.
The fleece line ones, game changer.
Didn't know that was a line.
Yeah. Fleece line Crocs. Yep, I've had 2 pairs of them now. Gone through them.
All right, so we're gonna have to get some more Crocs. We're gonna have to get some more khakis.
I still gotta eat an egg on a burger.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to do.
We got a lot of things to check off this list. And another time we'll talk about. Now it makes me think about getting stopped.
Want to talk about Orioles and Adams Jeep?
We do want to talk about both of those, and we will talk about getting pulled over in the future. But let's get on that Adams Jeep here for a second here. Kevin, what the fuck is that?
He's like on a what?
Why is
milking cows?
Turning the wheel?
What
Oh,
is
no,
this?
no. That's like you're doing the windshield.
Yeah. What was?
I'm just riding dirty.
What is Kevin?
I'm just riding.
Like you go more like up.
I have a
It's not helping.
So this is
Now,
just
now it looks like you're doing that one dance. So it's like,
Well, my arms aren't that close. My hands aren't like this.
I have
yeah,
stick
but I
shift.
can't
That's
get in the
better.
way.
I have a stick shift, so I'm just gonna drive my Jeep like this from now on.
10 and 2.
I'm just gonna put my
12.
There you go. Other side.
God damn it.
There we go. Adams Jeep of Maryland, by the way. We mentioned them earlier on. They
Shout
are
out.
The shout out, proud sponsor of the Ryan Ripken Show.
That is the Stackhouse. That is the best one I've ever seen. Thank you.
Oh my god.
Oh.
That
That is beautiful.
is the best. That's the best one yet.
Kevin, you are getting absolutely roasted.
Oh,
too. You really are. You're a good kid, though.
It
Don't give me a
happens.
cat imaginary cow.
Well,
Well, I've been saying that for weeks.
That is true.
That was
all right. Let's talk about our friends at Adams Jeep, though, for a second. Adams Jeep of Maryland, up in Aberdeen. If you need anything done for your car service parts, you want to buy a Jeep, by the way, they're badass. They're incredible. But I wasn't kidding about the cleanest detail I've ever had done, ever. Like, Jamie was so surprised, and then she was so stressed of being, well, wait a minute. Is this how are you going to dirty this thing up? And even actually, when I left Adams Jeep, they're like, hey, Ryan, make sure you take care of that. I'm like, oh, okay. You saying the car was dirty? It was. But immaculate. And honestly, the turnaround time for everything, including the service, incredible.
Listen, I'm gonna go up there and get my oil changed.
Hey, you know what? That's
The monster truck's gonna get their oil changed at Adams Jeep.
you're gonna see a lot more with Adams Jeep of Maryland as we move forward. Let's talk quickly then, because we're talking about the segue I had before is gone, but the award ceremony for the NFL giving credit to players that's happening tonight. Lamar Jackson is supposed to, by Vegas odds, and for a lot of people out there, expected to win MVP this season. How high are those odds? If you're curious, Lamar Jackson's at a minus 10,000 to win, 10,000 to 1, or 1 to 10,000. Right?
10,000 to 1.
So, okay, 10,000 to 1 to win. Dak Prescott is the second highest candidate at plus 1,800. So it's looking like Lamar Jackson is going to take home, as we've all expected, his second MVP in his already very illustrious career. I know the one thing that we talked about that he does not have is obviously a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl appearance. But again, tremendous. He joins an elite group of quarterbacks. If this is the case, we'll join an elite group of MVPs to win the award twice.
Yeah, and it really is one of those things where obviously the season did not end how Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, or Ravens fans had hoped, but you still have to take time to appreciate what Lamar Jackson did, especially with everything in the offseason. I mean, he missed close to the final half of last year. You know, he can't play in the playoffs. Then there's all the drama with the contract negotiations. He requests a trade. There's just nothing is going well in the offseason. And for him to turn it around after the contract extension and go and presumably win MVP, he does now, assuming it happens. He has 2 MVPs, and there are, I believe, it's less than 7 or 8 players have multiple MVPs, and it puts him in that spot where now you have to start thinking, is he not guaranteed, but is he a Hall of Famer? You know, he's at that level where when you have 2 MVPs, there aren't guys that are missing the Hall of Fame with multiple MVPs.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is the conversation that we always go to, and we understand, and it goes by people look at, do you win Super Bowl titles? Are you good enough? Well, if you're making that case, was Dan Marino not a unbelievable quarterback when he was playing with the Dolphins? You can make this argument all you want, but it is so hard to win an MVP. To win 1 MVP, to win 2 or more, and I have the list that I'll explain at the end, but winning 2 or more, that's rare air. And a lot of those guys should be Hall of Famers. But guys, I think we got to take a step back here, Brad. Reflecting on, of course, a disappointing end to the Ravens season, but it doesn't diminish anything that Lamar Jackson did this year.
Oh, absolutely not. And it's, again, we can pick apart Lamar Jackson's performance in the AFC Championship game all we want, but what I will say is that coaching had a lot to do with that, and not everything was on Lamar. We could actually make that argument about the Titans game as well back in 2019. So for me personally, I don't think that it's necessarily an indictment on whether Lamar can win rings or not. I think it's only a matter of time. And what did you say that Dan Marino had two MVPs?
Dan Marino didn't even have 2 MVPs.
So my, I guess, question would be, and we probably should have been looking this up, or I should have looked this up, but has there ever been a 2-time MVP that didn't win a Super Bowl?
Well, so here's the thing, actually, looking at the list, and I actually wanted to get into, Kevin, I'll have the next question for you. Here are the list of quarterbacks, or sorry, not quarterbacks, multi-MVP winners, okay? Peyton Manning, good Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
5 MVPs.
5, insane.
Aaron Rodgers, 4, going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Won a Super Bowl, Peyton Manning Super Bowl. Tom Brady, obviously, 3. Obviously, he's won some rings. Jim Brown, 3 MVPs. The Browns did not win a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
There's 1. Brett Favre, yes. Johnny Unitas with 3. Then Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, Kurt Warner, Steve Young. So when you're looking at that list, only one of those multi-MVPs did not win a Super Bowl or championship, right? So it is an interesting question.
Yeah.
But of that list, I just listed off 10 names, 10 players in the history of the NFL.
All Hall of Famers
are going in. Exactly. So kind of leads to it. And this to Kevin, I wanted to point this out I wanted you to tie this in. Lamar is only 27 years old.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's the impressive part with a lot of these guys winning their MVPs. Aaron Rodgers won 2 in a row in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has 2, and he hasn't even played his 27th.
Just Jim Brown and the Browns won the championship in 1964 when it wasn't the Super Bowl.
Okay, so good to clarify.
So yeah, nobody who's won multiple MVPs and has never won a Super Bowl and got in, but yeah, so nobody who has won multiple MVPs has also gone ringless. So even Jim Brown had 1 championship in his Browns days.
So, and that was the last time for Cleveland, right?
Right.
I think
64.
that was the last time.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
So on that case, though, Kevin, Lamar Jackson's still only 27 years old.
Yeah.
And there's still so much time where he could have more MVPs and very well could have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think, he's already built up such a legacy already where, even without a Super Bowl, you got to acknowledge what he's done, the franchise records, NFL records, everything. And with that, he's been, the past 2 seasons, not this one, but 2022 and 2021, he got injured and he started 3 full seasons. He started 3 years as an NFL quarterback and played through those years healthy, 2019, 2020, and 2023. He's won the MVP and, assuming he wins it tonight, which he's going to, he's won the MVP in 2 of those 3 seasons. So this was year 1 of Todd Monken's offense, year 1 of getting guys around him like Odell Beckham, etc. And I think that the sky is still the limit for Lamar. Not that he isn't already one of the best quarterbacks in this league, because he is, but it's kind of scary to think about the year that he had, how locked in he looked, how poised he was. It wasn't a perfect year for him, but I'm excited to see what he can do. Is, we kind of get into what Lamar's going to look like in his later 20s, his earlier 30s. Because I think with Baltimore, as long as you have Lamar, you have a chance. And that speaks to how good he is and how he is one of the game-changing quarterbacks in this league. So I think that you can work this offseason if you're Lamar, continue to get better. I know for a lot of people, the deep ball accuracy is one thing that was actually kind of fine. It wasn't like perfect for him at the start of his career, but it was all right. and it's kind of taken a dive these past couple of seasons. So you get that on track. You're able to hit on some of those more. Whoever's going to be his receivers next season, I don't know who it's going to be. Get Mark Andrews fully back healthy and Isaiah Likely, everything there. So I think even if you bring back an Odell, maybe, I know it was kind of like a weird topic of like, oh, well, does the contract match up with what he was producing? And I know Odell had a spicy tweet on that earlier today.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how Lamar takes another step because he's already taken so many.
Do you know how many NFL records Lamar Jackson owns already? 15. 15 NFL records. Now, I will give it, some of these are very ESPN ticky-tacky, most wins before the age of 25, but it goes and it proves that Lamar Jackson, when he plays, he is one of the most dominant players in the league.
Yeah, and so you're talking about dominant players, and we're talking about winning. That's the other part. The Ravens haven't won the big quote-unquote game to get to the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, not a lot of quarterbacks win more than Lamar Jackson, not just since he's entered the league, which he has the second most wins since he's entered the league, but win percentage in NFL history right now, because I just looked it up. There are 3 people on there that don't even have headshots. Lamar Jackson, Otto Graham is the number 1 as far as win percentage, has an 813 win percentage. Number 2 is Patrick Mahomes. And on this list, Tom Brady is 4 at 749. Lamar Jackson sits 6th all time right now in win percentage, winning over 72% of his games. So if we put that in context of it, Lamar Jackson is still doing some incredible things. Now, again, those numbers can change over the years, but a lot of good things that can come his way nonetheless, period. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, then some other awards going on for the evening that we're wondering. Christian McCaffrey is the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year, -375. Tyreek's the next closest at +275. NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett is the favorite right now. Micah Parsons is second. I think we can all are safe to say as great of a season it was for Puka Nacua for the LA Rams. He broke the rookie receiving record.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud is probably going to win the award, and he is favored -1,000.
What's comeback player of the year? What did Flacco's odds end at?
So Flacco's odds ended at +200. Now, DeMar Hamlin
from coming back for play with the Jets.
DeMar Hamlin is at -300 and Baker Mayfield +1,500. So fans on Fox apparently voted Baker Mayfield as their choice for comeback player of the year.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that choice.
Neither do I.
Yeah, no, I definitely think. Obviously, DeMar Hamlin is going to be the winner after coming back from death. But it is. I think it's so funny that
literally came back.
Yeah, I think it's so. One of the funniest things over the past few weeks has been Joe Flacco, who only really comeback was he just didn't really play last year. He's the backup on the Jets, and then he just kept going up the board and catching DeMar Hamlin. And it was like, do odds makers really think that they're going to give it to Joe Flacco over DeMar Hamlin? I don't
know. Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because like, of course, everybody wants to talk about DeMar Hamlin and what happened last year, and he was able to come back to play football this year, and just the fact that he was even on the field should just automatically, hands down, give him the vote. But Joe Flacco was sitting on his couch for half the year, and then came back and crushed it.
Yeah,
and Baker Mayfield too. So like, I think it should also be performance related. I mean, DeMar Hamlin barely played any football until the last 3-4 games or so, if I'm not mistaken.
He wasn't really involved much in the for the season.
And people make the argument, who cares? People make that argument that he's just on the field and that should just give him the award. But I kind of feel like Joe or Baker actually played the entire season and balled out and drastically improved from where they were last year. So
by definition, if you're going to go off of your performance on the field, then you make the case for Joe and for Baker.
Yeah.
But in an unprecedented where this has never happened in NFL history,
right,
where you almost had the biggest devastating, tragic moment in professional, you could argue in professional sports history, but specifically NFL history, if DeMar passed away in that game, that's where the conversation goes, right? Obviously. So we're going to find out with all these awards. It's happening tonight in an hour or so.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton actually just posted a picture on Twitter from his seat and said 1 billion likes and I'll Kanye Lamar's MVP speech.
Unreal. Got to get him to 1 billion. Let's do it. Let's do it.
We are currently only at 468. Okay, so making progress.
Add some zeros. Photoshop some zeros in there, and we'll be
Okay,
fine.
507. We're making progress.
There we go.
Get Kyle to that number so we can see it all. I want to make just one note of this. Sylvester was saying about who cares about some MVP titles only. Yeah, of course. I think a lot of true competitors say, yeah, I'll trade away my MVPs if I could win 2 rings. Lamar is definitely one of those guys. He would trade away 2 MVPs for 2 rings. But also having said that, to be an MVP, not everyone can do it. It's so damn hard. I mean, if you're going to talk about rings, like Robert Horry for basketball for that long period of time, when all those rings jumping around with the Lakers, the Spurs.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, Peyton Manning accomplished things. Sorry, Peyton Manning, 5. I don't know if we're going to see someone get 5. Mahomes might, but it's so damn hard to be considered that great each and every regular season. Postseason, obviously, is a different story. If you're new to the channel here, hit that like and subscribe button. We would appreciate it. We've talked a lot about the Super Bowl, spicy topics, but we are Baltimore rooted first. So we do talk a lot about things Raven related, Oriole related. Orioles are right around the corner here in spring training. We're going to dive into that in a second. If you want to talk more with us, check out our Discord. We're going to post the link. We have that available. If you want to get a hold of us or talk more shop, we'll be in that conversation. All right, guys, let's talk about in 2 parts here. The Orioles made the big move. We already talked about Corbin Burns, but Corbin Burns went on foul territory to talk about how excited he is, and he had a message for the fans. And then we'll get into why, even though this was such a big move, not everyone is buying in, at least projections aren't buying in to this really helping the Baltimore Orioles.
The message to the Orioles fans is, look, I'm going to come over there and do what I've done for the last 4 years, go out and compete every 5 days, give everything I got. I'm accustomed to winning baseball, so it's an organization that is up and coming and has done a lot of winning last year, and has a great young core, great young players, exciting team that I'm looking to hopefully add my touch to and win a lot more baseball games and get to the World Series and hopefully win the whole thing.
Good kid, Corbin.
Yeah,
good kid.
You know, a lot of good kids out there, and he seems like one of them. And he's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. But so, guys, even with that big of a move, and Corbin Burns, if you guys have heard me talk about it, he's definitely a top 10 pitcher, starting pitcher in MLB. You can even argue he could be a top 5, but he pitches in Milwaukee, where people might not talk about him enough. But you would think with the Orioles roster and everyone's healthy, you would feel very confident that they would be a team that would compete to win the AL East and possibly be the number 1 seed in the American League. Well, Fangraphs and Baseball Prospectus came out with their PECOTA rankings, projections, and fellas, the Orioles not only were not the favorite to win the American League East, that's the Yankees. The Orioles weren't even the second favorite team to win the AL East, and their overall percentage to make the postseason, just make the postseason, was down to a 55% chance. So I guess you guys fully shocked about it? I'm not fully shocked at 55, but it does seem lower than I initially was expecting. Zach, I see you stirring.
I think you tweeted out good. I mean, I just keep doubting. After all of the things that the Orioles, all the narratives they put to bed last year, and this young team, and I think they are in a better position this year than they were last year. Especially you talk about adding a potentially top 5 pitcher to the rotation. It's interesting. I mean, and then you also do have to bring up that where do they have the Texas Rangers in this? The defending World Series champions, they're all the way down,
like 30
something.
Yeah, this makes no sense. How is the Blue Jays coming in second this year?
They love giving. I don't every year the projections people love the Blue Jays the past 3 years. It's just always they're just one of the highest teams in the league.
If I had to choose, like if I'm looking at this list right now, I'm putting Baltimore up top because they were the best team in baseball last year. I don't know how you put them anywhere else, especially because all they did is get better personnel wise. You put Baltimore up top. The Yankees will be second because they did add Juan Soto and you know they've made some nice changes there too. So I think Yankees will be number 2. But then it's Toronto 3, Tampa Bay 4, Boston 5. Tampa Bay basically grenaded their pitching staff. So I don't see how Tampa Bay is going to be anywhere near what they were last year. So I don't get this at all. I think the Captain Obvious standings I think would be Baltimore, New York, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Boston.
So here's the other part too, because Fangraphs then had their list of percentage to make the playoffs, and the Rays had a higher percentage to make the playoffs than the Baltimore Orioles at 58%. Baltimore, obviously, as we mentioned, is at 55.
Make it make sense.
The Rangers, Marlins, and Mets, according to Fangraphs, all had the same percentage, around 34%.
How do they determine this?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
So again, they go by metrics, projections, and so I'll explain why the Orioles one was so low, or why they are. It's no shock that the Orioles exceeded expectations. They exceeded their projections, and they won a lot of close games. They had a lot of comeback wins. The Orioles were one of the top teams in baseball in one-run games. I think they were number one, and they also were one of the top teams in Major League Baseball in comeback victories. Those are two things, I guess, you're adding into the variance of the team being dominant or not. But having said that, Brad, how do you account for your team getting better? And in this case, the Baltimore Orioles did get better. I'm cool with the Yankees still being favored, by the way. I think I'm fine with that. I really am. But Toronto, to me, is this team that each year you think that they're going to do more, and they just haven't done it. Like last year, I thought Toronto was going to win the AL East, and I thought if they weren't going to win it last year, I certainly don't think they're going to win it this year.
Well, the Orioles, 18 games better than the Yankees last year?
Something like that. But the context for that, Carlos Rodon, and we talked about injuries. He, to me, is going to be an X factor for their team. Big free agent signing that people in Baltimore wanted him to come to the Orioles. But he wasn't healthy from the start, never could get in a rhythm. If Garrett Cole and him can get going, plus obviously Marcus Stroman's this other pitcher for them, and Cortez, if things work out well for the Yanks, pitching is going to be their biggest concern, because I think they're going to hit, having Judge and Soto. Those two guys stay healthy. I think that lineup is going to stay way more afloat than it needs to. So that's kind of where it all goes to. And for the Orioles, they're just saying, oh, Felix Bautista's out. Who's going to close games? And can these young guys continue to over-exceed on their ability? Which we think so. But quite frankly, a lot of people out there are still hesitating on what that should mean and how that's going to play out. But that's why you got to play the damn game, right? Spring training is a week away, actually. February 14th is the report date, I believe. So happy Valentine's Day to all baseball fans out there.
Is that the league report day, or is that just do all teams go on the same day? I know the Orioles go on the 14th by now. Is it all the same day?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. That was a very just off the cuffs question.
No
because I know that teams obviously move in at different times, but yeah, within the next week, all teams will be there.
Yeah, and so we'll dive more into this in the future, but being that close last year makes the team even more hungry now. Well, a lot of teams, when you're young and you're still trying to get there, and also when you're trying to get contracts, that's a whole other different discussion. Subconsciously, you're trying to get that money, play well, and you're trying to win a World Series. The Orioles have a lot of those guys, but health is going to be a big reason. And we're looking at the rest of the American League. It's going to be tougher. Seattle, I think, is going to be right back there. I think Houston's not going to go away. I'm not buying Texas falling off a cliff here either.
That was insane. I don't get that at all.
And the Astros need to figure out their pitching too, because
Verlander's still there. Verlander's there, but their team is going to go through a makeshift. Everyone's been saying it for years, but it's coming now. Altuve did sign a extension with the team,
but
he's going to be there for 19 years total after that extension.
But he can't pitch.
No,
can't throw the ball.
But it just seems like Houston just has someone that steps up. But they do have a really good back end of their bullpen with Hader and Presley. So we're gonna figure out how it all goes, and we'll talk more about Orioles stuff. And maybe we'll have some things to help us break down Orioles stuff. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to stay tuned to find that out. Well, I think that kind of does it for now. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions, guys?
Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP. Speaking into existence.
It's already in existence.
I was going to say, but I guess more speak into existence, 1 billion likes on Kyle Hamilton's tweet. So he has to. If you're watching this and have not gone and liked Kyle Hamilton's tweet, please go do that. Please.
If that's one thing you do before you end your evening tonight, go like that tweet on X. All right, guys, I think that does it for us. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're one of our regulars, which we see in the chat here, thanks for coming back. We are on Spotify and Apple, and we're going to extend to more platforms. So if you can't watch us, go listen to it. So you can be in the car, working out, cleaning, whatever you want to do. And we will be back here we have a special show coming up on Saturday, stay tuned for more information on that. And especially if you like the Baltimore Orioles, you may want to tune in. You might know who we are going to be speaking with. But that does it for everyone here. We got Kevin, Brad. Nope, that's Zach. Kevin, Brad, Zach. and I am Ryan Ripken, and thank you for joining us. As always, have a day, have a night, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Ryan Ripken Show.
Boom.
Boom.